All right, so here we have the a course manager is for us is kind of going to be like the top level component for our what we're working here for the course manager. Right? It's going to load the heading, it's going to load the grid, it's going to load the table, right? And somehow we need to be able to toggle between the two. Yes, right. So let's work on that. Let's first play around with. Let's see if we could maybe have the course grid and the course table and maybe toggle between the two. All right, so let's do that. Let's create two components. Create two components. And so we'll create a new JavaScript. So this will be the course table component. Right, and in here, again, we're going to import React. And we're going to create a function, const course table component, and we're going to render, so this is going to be a function, it's going to render maybe h2 course table component. And let's not forget to export this, equal, and this is going to export default course table component. Yes? And I'm just going to just copy and paste this to create the grid. So this will be the grid component. It's going to look very, very similar. Grid component. And in the grid component, I'm just going to change these names. So this will be grid. Oops. Copy, paste. This will be grid. Yes? All right, so we have the grid and the table component. Let's load them both into the parent manager component. Yes? So to load them, I can do the same thing. I can say course grid. There it is. There's my table component and my grid component. Let's load them. Yes. Now, if I load them, notice that my IDE loaded it for me, but it's complaining about an error, about a syntax error. Right. Now, the syntax error is that because I'm using this implicit return. Implicit returns only work when you're returning a single line of code. When you're doing only a single line of code, that's the implicit. So my IDE is saying, well, that doesn't make sense, right? You're trying to return more than one thing. So if I want to return more than one thing, well, I need to wrap it into something that grabs them both, right? So I've wrapped it inside of a div. Everybody good? Right. So let's see if that works. There it is. We have the top level course manager, and then down below we have the table, the course table component. Everybody good? Right? Yes.
So how exactly would you define CSS to this? Would it be like at the level of the file, or would it
You could do it at the component level, right? You could live in the same file in the same directory, and you can say import, right? Dot slash, and then the name of the CSS, right? Just like it's shown here in app. In app, it's loading this .css that lives right in the same directory. You saw that? Okay. All right, so if we go back to the course manager, let's load the other one, the grid. Yes, both the table and the grid. So let's see. We say here's the grid. So notice that my IDE is working for me and loading the correct component right away. If we go back and render this, notice that we have both the table grid and the grid component. Make sense? All right, so now let's focus on how we might want to toggle between the two, right, and show one or the other. All right, so let's take a look at that.